And there we go. We're live, Michelle. Have a great meeting.
Thanks, Daryl. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome, community. This is our finance meeting for October 16th. So with that, we have a couple items on the agenda for today. So is there any media on? Okay, seeing none. Any additions or changes to the meeting? What do you need? Oh. Okay, so additions, Greg, I have one and Melba has one. Okay. So can I have somebody approve the agenda? Moved by Sherry Lynn, second by Melba, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, the adoption of, we have no delegations. The adoption of the finance meeting minutes from September 18th. Moved by Carrie, seconder. Audrey. Any comments? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, moving right along to our first item, Public Works Independent Electricity System Operators Education and Capacity Building Program. So we have before us a recommendation to provide awareness to our community members in regards to this program. We have Crystal Campbell and Mike Mentor online. So if you both can turn your camera on and we can hear a brief overview, then I'll read the recommendation to community. Welcome, Mike. Welcome, Crystal.
Hello, good morning. I just wanted to start by kind of like introducing who I am. I don't really get in front of camera very often. So my name is Crystal Campbell and I work over at the Public Works Department and I am the Community Energy Champion. Part of my position is to bring energy programming, awareness, savings programs, and energy programs to the community. An application has been submitted to the Independent Electricity System Operators Education and Capacity Building Program in the amount of $125,000. In the previous years, for about 3 years now, we've been using their program. It's allowed us to bring energy program into the schools for grades 4 to 6. The programs were very well received by students and teachers. Also, energy related summer camps have been available at no cost for the last 3 summers. These camps actually fill up very quickly within hours of launching them to the community. Other events such as Plug and Drive's Electric Vehicle Roadshow and the Energy and Employment Fair were also funded through the Education and Capacity Building Program. So part of that application requires a band council resolution. So that's why we're bringing it here today.
Mike, do you have anything you want to add?
It's like everyone, no, nothing to add. She did a good job at introducing the program and great to see it here. Yeah.
Thank you. Audrey, do you have a question?
No, I'd like to move it.
Okay, so before you do that, let me read to the community the actual recommendation. So the recommendation reads, whereas the Six Nations Community Energy Plan recommends obtaining funding to support energy education, building capacity in the energy field, and providing energy awareness to community members. Whereas the Six Nations of the Grand River has access funding through the Independent Electricity Systems Operator Education and Capacity Building Program in the past, and has used it to provide several successful school and community energy programs and camps, and other intake has opened for another 2-year term. Whereas the application has been submitted in the amount of $125,000 with the requirement of the band council resolution to follow. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River elected council post approves the application for the Independent Electricity Systems Operators Education and Capacity Building Program in the amount of $125,000. So it is a post approval. It's done by someone who's willing to move it. Oh yeah, Audrey, seconder.
I'll second it. No.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, let's go to a vote. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? Seeing none, motion is carried. So recommendation B is to waive second reading. I don't think we need to do that just because it's in motion already. Correct, Nathan? It's done deal, right? So we don't even have to move second reading. Yeah, okay, perfect. Is number 2 yours as well, Crystal?
Yes, it is.
So, I'll just read it for community, and if there's something I missed, then you can just add to it. Sound good?
Okay, yep.
Okay. Whereas to meet Canada's 2030 emissions reduction target and reach net zero by 2050, the transportation sector will need to be decarbonized by implementing active and public transportation along with the increase of zero emission vehicles on the road. Six Nations of the Grand River 2029 Community Plan suggests the installation of electric car chargers to encourage the purchase of zero emission vehicles. Installation of the chargers will ensure Six Nations doesn't get left behind. Whereas an application has been submitted and approved for the level 3 electric vehicle fast charger through the Indigenous Clean Energy Charge Up program in the amount of $99,999 with a remaining balance of $100,000 to complete the project. Whereas an application has been submitted by the Six Nations of the Grand River Development Corporation and approved through Natural Resources Canada Zero Emissions Vehicle Infrastructure Program to install 10 level 2 electric vehicle chargers with a remaining balance of $100,000 to complete the project. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the elected council post approves again the application submitted to the Independent Electricity Systems Operators Indigenous Energy Projects 2.3 program to fund the remaining balance for the level 2 electric vehicle fast charger and the 10 level 2 electric vehicle chargers at the total amount of $200,000. Move, Sherry Lynn?
Yeah.
You're- Okay, moved by Sherry Lynn. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it with a question.
Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder. Sherry Lynn, your question, and then over to Carrie.
I guess my question is regarding, where will they be, put? Do we have a map of where they're gonna be installed?
So as of right now, the 10 level 2 chargers, we're still kind of up in the air as to where we're gonna actually put them. I was thinking at the Parks and Rec department. I don't really know yet where I want to put those ones, but the level 3 fast charger, I'd like to put at the Iroquois Plaza out front of the CKRZ.
I just have a follow-up.
Yeah.
Would it be able to have, a plan put in place to show council? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Carrie, and then Audrey.
Yeah, obviously, the people will have to pay to get their battery charged, so how are they gonna have to pay? Is it credit card or debit, or I don't think it's gonna be cash, is it?
No, most of the time they are credit card or it's through an app on your phone, which is credit card.
And one other is, okay, the level 3.
Yeah.
Is the minimum charge, like the minimum time it would take to charge your vehicle up or your battery?
About 30 minutes.
And for the level 2?
That would be like an overnight type of charge. Like say if you wanna, it's almost like when you have a charger at your house and you're just leaving it to charge overnight. So about 8 to 10 hours.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Carrie. Audrey?
Yeah, then Crystal, why do they call fast charging if it takes overnight?
Oh, the fast charger is the level 3. So that's about 30 minutes for it to charge.
Okay, now, technology is moving so fast. Batteries are changing. So how much does a battery cost? And how often does it have to be changed? And how many kilometers are you expected to get out of one charge? Those are my questions. Thank you.
I would say that every electric vehicle is different. Some can get a range up to 650 kilometers out of like a full battery. I'd say a life expectancy, probably around 10 years, 10 to 15 years.
You're on mute. Can you repeat your question? No. You're still on mute. Can somebody unmute her? There you go.
So I guess the other question is, if we have all these cars plugged in and you want to have it, you should probably be having one in your own home, correct?
You should have one.
And what do they cost? And I guess the cost and the upkeep is up, you're using your own hydro, so. And also how are you going to protect those things against vandalism?
I have not gotten to the vandalism part of it yet. That will be something that I'll take into consideration when I go to actually install these things.
Mm-hmm.
For a charger at your home, I would probably have to get back to you and let you know how much that would cost. I've never really looked too much into the ones that are being installed in the houses. I've just been kind of more so concentrating on the level 2 chargers and the fast chargers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Melba?
Yes, the location, you mentioned that one charger will be in front of CKRZ.
Yes.
That could be, do you mean the side of CKRZ?
Yes, it would be to the side.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I didn't know how that was gonna work with people
Yeah.
to get their mail, for example. Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, is there any other questions? Hearing none, so we have it moved by Sherry Lynn, second by Carrie. Hearing no more questions, all in favor? The post, guess not, it's in motion, so. Motion is carried. So we don't have to waive second reading because this is a post approval. Okay, thank you, Crystal, and I think that's all your items for this morning.
Yeah.
Good. Have
Thank
yourself-
you. You too. Bye.
Okay, we'll move right along to our Public Works minor capital allocations for 2023-24. Mike, if you want to give us a high level overview, over to you.
Hi, Michelle. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Montour. I'm Director of Public Works for Six Nations Grand River. So what this is Indigenous Services Canada gives us funding based on a formula. Their formula looks at nominal role of our schools and then population, but it actually caps our population at about 55% for whatever reason. And I know that we've been harping on them about that. But we get roughly about $1.25 to $1.3 million a year to look at maintenance of our assets. So there are a lot of assets that are not funded, such as computer services isn't funded, administration, such as the different assets that we have there aren't funded, sports fields, the splash pad, ball hockey rink, all that stuff aren't funded assets. We technically get no operation and maintenance dollars for them. So a lot of our departments come together to allocate these to the biggest needs. Some of our departments are funded, but heavily underfunded, such as fire, Public Works, Parks and Rec. So we split this amongst ourselves, and I know that the decision is ultimately the CEOs and the CEO team and the financial directors in regards to what has the biggest need with our input, of course. So we put together a listing here, and this needs to be submitted back to Indigenous Services Canada. And then we got to do a bit of reporting on it. But there is a set piece always carved out for education. And that goes right to the schools based on their nominal role with the principals. And there's a bit that goes to the maintenance side as well for some of the, I guess, larger breakdowns like the heat pumps and such.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So I will open it up to questions. Over to you, Craig.
Hi, Mike. Yeah, thanks for the overview. I just had a question about the formula. is that formula, is that adjusted yearly, cost follows cost of living, or is that formula, can that be a negotiated thing between us and, I guess it comes through ISC, right?
Yeah, so it's based on, it's not necessarily, they don't look at the cost factors. They just look at, so we have an adjusted population for size and geographic factor. And again, that's about 55%. They cap us at it, and then they look at our nominal role of our federal schools. So that's part of their calculation. And I know I've asked at my level several times about, why are you capping us? Because this has remained pretty stagnant over the last, let's say, the past even 5 years. It's been right around the same level, even though costs have risen and needs have gotten greater. So yeah, that's definitely a political item to pick up on for sure.
I'll just follow up. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was getting at is, what's, in your opinion, what would be the path to negotiate changes in that formula?
At my level, I run into the wall to say this is the formula. I don't know why it's like that. So if you can go as high as you can to say why, what's the basis on capping us at our population? Because a lot of the First Nations that are funded have a lot less of a population, and the formula is built around them, really. Even if you look at what we get to fund, let's say, administration of the governance within elected council and the services, it's heavily underfunded as well. They cap us there, so we're missing out on quite a bit of funding to administer our programs and services.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So I guess it's somewhere where we take it at the highest level then. And then if you could, I don't know if you have the basic formula and how it works. If you could supply that or some of the basics, it would be helpful sort of on our end and in terms of changes or negotiations.
Absolutely, I'll provide that to Nathan. I'll get that done before the week's end.
Great, thank you.
Great, and that is our role. So thanks, Greg. Any other questions? Hazel?
So in order to discuss with ISC the funding that they provide the Six Nations, and almost everything, well, everything is not near the amount that would be needed to efficiently fix, care for, and take care of all of their infrastructure and our assets, etc. So would a meeting or a delegation put together to go and visit them in their own offices and ask them and really stress the inadequacy of their formula as it pertains to Six Nations? Because if you have smaller reserves, and we're not trying to deny anyone anything, like, within their communities to live, it only stands to reason and makes sense that a larger community would be given an amount that would suffice for that specific community because of its size and the number of people living there. If you give a couple million to a small reserve with 500 people, they should be able to do a heck of a lot with that money that they're getting. But here, it's almost like we're forever trying to make a dime stretch 100 miles. So just wondering if it's possible to meet with finance people in Toronto or Ottawa and talk reasonable about this money, because sitting behind a desk in those cities and not really knowing what it's like out here, they need to be brought up to date. Just my question. I don't know who's going to do it. You, Mike, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I can do that. So O&M wise, we have some work to do on our end. So we're currently trying to get asset management funding that would look at our assets and tell us exactly what we should be getting, and we can kind of compare that to what we are getting, and we can have that data. But as far as special project funding, so a lot of the larger infrastructure projects we do, we need to apply to Indigenous Services Canada. And my understanding, and we've brought this up a few times, even through the chief's office, is that all of the gas stations in our community have to pay a federal excise tax for the sales of their fuel. That goes to the government, the federal government, and what they do is they make that proposal based. So basically, a lot of it, in my opinion, would go to probably the northern remote First Nations and much smaller communities to meet their needs. And we don't get our fair share. And I think that funding formula is done through the AFN or COO. So we've actually asked for the amount that we pay in. How much do we pay in a year, so that we know what we should at least be coming back to our community. But again, we're competing against communities that have really dire needs, but at the same time, like, the funding for our community is meant for our community, in my mind, anyway. So that's what one thing to push as well, is that piece as far as what's happening to the gas tax fund.
Thanks, Mike. Is there any other questions? Melba?
Yes, I'm really surprised at the amount that computer services is allocated or has requested, I'm not sure, based on their office space and storage. They have no storage. They have, as anyone that goes in there, you can see boxes are piled up, about a quarter to the ceiling. So health and safety, is a real issue there. Not only for the storage, but the employees also. So I would think that should be adjusted if possible. Thanks.
Thanks, Melba. And at the end of the day, it is really underfunded, regardless of the amount. We will see the 1.2. But again, as Mike has alluded to, it is very low considering how much it costs to operate and run our administration. So with that, I'm going to read the recommendation so the community is aware of what we are passing this morning, going to vote on. So the recommendation for the minor capital allocations for 2023-24 is, whereas Indigenous Services Canada provides annual funding for Six Nations assets and education based on a formula which uses nominal roll and adjusts our population to approximately 60%. Whereas the Public Works, Housing, Administration, Parks and Recreation, Computer Services, and the Fire Department all had the opportunity to put their priorities forward. And whereas $96,367 allocated to education is provided to the federal schools and school maintenance to address the priorities of the school principals and the equipment replaced. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approved to allocate $1,272,161 of the 2023-24 First Nations Infrastructure Investment Plan core funding as follows. Administration will receive $58,264.83. Computer Services, $34,000. Public Works, $597,636.17. Fire, $250,000. Parks and Recreation, $235,893. And Education will receive that $96,367 for a total of $1.272,161. So with that, if there's any final questions, go ahead. Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor? Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Waiving of second reading. Do I have a mover? Moved by Sherry Lynn. Do I have a seconder? Audrey. All in favor? That motion is carried. Okay. Thank you for that, Mike. I don't believe the next item is yours. That was your only item, correct?
That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great week. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. You too. Okay, so for community, we are now moving on to housing, and we have it's really a process piece. So it's a Hydro One customer service. So Lillian, if you could elaborate on this recommendation, and then I'll read it out to community.
Thanks, Michelle. So this is for the duplexes on Moccasin Trail funded by ISC and CMHC Section 95. These duplexes have been ready to go for approximately 3 or 4 months now. And we've been waiting for Hydro to get us a contract. So this is that contract to connect all 4 of the units, so that we can get people moved in as soon as possible.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'll read the recommendation, just so community is aware of the numbers. Whereas Six Nations Housing seeks to make the duplexes at Moccasin Trail fit for occupancy. And whereas housing has the remaining allocated funds of $49,427.83. Therefore, be it resolved that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approves signing of the Hydro One customer service contract. Notification number 303-272-100, and authorize Nathan Wright, acting Chief Executive Officer, to sign the contract in the amount of $23,087.81. And that's all I got. You have the hand on yours? Is there more to that, Nathan? Okay, alrighty. So that is the recommendation to approve Nathan to sign the contract at $23,087.81. Audrey, you're moving? Okay.
I'll
So we have a
second.
mover and seconded by Melba. Any questions in regards to the Hydro One hookup? Go ahead, Carrie.
Lillian, from when we signed this, do you have a timeline when Hydro will actually come down and do the work?
No, they won't give us a timeline until we have a signed contract.
You don't know from past practices what it would normally take, though, would you?
I mean, it can range anything from a few weeks to a few months. Typically it's about 2 to 6 weeks. But it really does depend on how many connections are occurring on the territory at the time when our contract gets approved.
Okay, thanks.
And just to elaborate on that, Carrie, we had Hydro One in and they advised us on average at 6 weeks, but I do know community members are waiting longer than 6 weeks. Okay, so with that, we have the motion moved. So all in favor? Does anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. And then the last piece is waiving of second reading. Do I have a mover? Audrey, seconder? Melba, all in favor? Anybody opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, so thank you, Lillian. And that is it for you. Have yourself a great day.
You too, thank you.
So we are moving on to our new items. So Greg, you've had an item?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I just wanted to just give an overview of the Six Nations Veterans Day, Remembrance Day ceremony on Sunday. It was well attended. I would like to thank all the community members that were able to come out. I know it was a cold day, but it was, I thought it was well done. I thought the planning committee for the Six Nation Veterans Association did a great job. I thought that and of course, it's a solemn day. It's a day of remembrance and also a day of thanks, you know, to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Their sacrifice is basically allows us to live the way we live. And also I'd also like to thank those that have served and those that are still serving. A couple of things about the park I thought was in excellent shape. It looked good. I thought the dignitaries that I was able to speak to had nothing but good all praise for the ceremony and the park as well as the parade. The parade coming from the community hall wasn't too long. It was quite adequate. It was well attended by veterans associations across, some of them across Ontario. The community hall I thought was well decorated. I know Parks and Rec was involved. Leanie's Flowers might have been involved because I saw the centerpieces were very well done. Of course, the The food was excellent, more than enough, as usual. And again, a lot of positive comments, and a lot of the members of other associations look forward to coming here and visit, which was very nice to see. But overall, I thought it was a very good ceremony, and I just have to congratulate the Six Nations Veterans Association on providing I would say well-organized ceremony, as well as welcoming as well. They were quite welcoming to all others that were able to attend. One thing about the Six Nations Veterans Association, as well as other veterans associations, there's certain challenges that they face concerning membership. As you know, a lot of their members are dwindling down. Well, they're dwindling in number, actually, so that the support has been waning in the last few years. I know the two main pillars of our Veterans Association, the late John Mator and Bob Johnson, really promoted the Veterans Association. And I see that there has to be, in my opinion, an influx of younger members, and I encourage anyone in the community to come back and support our Veterans Associations. I think it's very important for our community.
Well said, Greg, and thank you for being there, and those counselors that attended as well. Okay, next is Melba.
Yes, I think in a meeting previous to today, I had mentioned a treatment center and how Darren Jameson, upon he's leaving for a year, had mentioned that 7.1 million was set aside for a treatment center. And council also mentioned at the last meeting, I guess, was along with a treatment center, what was that they needed?
Safe bids?
Pardon?
Safe bids?
No, not safe bids, no. Anyway, the treatment center. And I'm wondering where that's at right now, because we have our community at high risk. Community members, in their connection to services, regardless, but we have them passing away almost on a monthly basis, and sometimes 2 or 3 in 1 week. And I'm wondering where that's at. Wayne?
So Wayne, if you could come up,
Thank,
we're putting you on the spot.
yes, thank you, Wayne, for being here.
I'm not sure if you've done actually anything in regards to that.
Thanks, Michelle. No, I did do a little bit of research on the long-term financial plan that Darren, I know, had presented to Chief and Council. And in all honesty, I could not locate that specific project within that listing. So I know I haven't had an opportunity to meet with Darren in detail, and with Nathan in length just yet to further research that. So at this time, unfortunately, I do not have any further update.
Well, perhaps next meeting you could have further information. The community is waiting.
Yes, Nathan and I will
Yes.
meet prior to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Wayne. And so with that, there's no other items. So at this time, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover? Moved by Sherry Lynn, seconder. Carrie, all in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thanks. And thanks, community, for tuning in. And we will be back next Tuesday night at a general council meeting. Take care. Have a great week.